Hi everyone, and welcome back to Svetlana's Corner. My name is Svetlana. I am a vice president of a nonprofit called We Got This. This is where we do focus on helping others, whether it is prison reform, whether it is people that are struggling in the community. We are trying to do a lot. I do have a video for you today that's what we called on the flip side. My husband is incarcerated. He came up with the name, and this is showing you the flip side of corrections. The people that work there, the corrupt people that work there, and the purpose of doing that is so you know what your tax dollars are paying for. I think that's important. So if you're interested in something like that, today's correctional officer actually is accused of cyberstalking law enforcement. I think you might find this at least entertaining. So join me on the video. Let's go.
I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.
It is called Connecticut Correctional Officer accused of cyberstalking law enforcement. He's placed on leave. Sounds charming. All right, so let's get into this. A Connecticut correctional officer who was accused of targeting a South Carolina federal law enforcement agent and his family pleaded guilty to charges and has been placed on administrative leave with pay, according to federal official and the Connecticut Department of Correction. So before I continue, let me just explain it to people who might have been like myself a long time ago, didn't know how this works. So this is an officer. He works in the Connecticut Department of Corrections. He's responsible for taking care of those that are living in the Department of Corrections, those that he will say are criminals, and he's the good guy. He's law enforcement. He is showing them how to live better. He's correcting behavior by example. I don't think it's a good example. Anyway, he was actually targeting a law enforcement agent. Not just a law enforcement agent, but a federal agent. So this guy, this correctional officer, is going after a federal agent in South Carolina. Not only is he going after the federal agent, but he's going after a federal agent, threatening a federal agent and his family. Doesn't he sound like a nice guy? Isn't that what you want to see out there in the free world? You know, don't you want to pay someone to enforce the laws? I don't think the laws include targeting a federal agent and his family. Not only as that, but as they say, he was placed on administrative leave with pay. So when the officers are placed on leave, it's not like you and me. If I take time off work, I'm not paid for it. That's my own time. And especially if it's my fault. If I want to go on vacation, I'm not going to be paid for it. I'm going to have to pay for my vacation and take that time off, or I have vacation pay. If I commit a crime, I'm not going to be working. I'm going to be without pay. But for correctional officers, they are put on leave while getting their full pay. So for us, for you as taxpayers, you are paying for this guy, for this person to be facing charges, and he's being paid for it. You're paying for him to be home while he waits for his case to get through all the legal channels. Why are we paying for that? Why is the Department of Corrections billing for this? Because that's what the union does. That's what the union wants. And that's been how it works. And I don't understand why, but that's how it goes. And to me, that is so wrong. This is why I wanted to talk about it. We're paying for him to be on leave with pay. He committed a crime. Why are we paying for this? Literally. All right, let's keep reading this. So the U.S. Attorney's Office in South Carolina said the 31-year-old Scott Robert Tardy. He lives in Massachusetts. I'm not going to name the city just for privacy, although this is on the news. This is not just me saying allegedly. This is on the news. He pleaded guilty. So again, this is not something he's accused of. He said he's guilty. He's admitting he has done this. So he pleaded guilty to cyberstalking, providing false statements to the FBI, and obstruction of justice in a case that targeted a South Carolina federal law enforcement agent and his family. The Connecticut Department of Corrections said Tardy was hired as a correctional officer on September 11th, 2020. So I'm filming this in 2025, so he's been working for at least 5 years, and he has been assigned to the Hartford Correctional Center. He will be placed on administrative leave with full pay effective Thursday, July 3rd, according to the State Department of Correction Department officials. And they say they have no further comment. Of course not. They have people like that, they commit crimes, but they're going to pay them. What else are they going to comment? That U.S. taxpayers get to pay for this guy to commit a crime and sit home with pay? They're not going to say that. You don't know this happens, but we should not be okay with it. So, the U.S. Attorney's Office in South Carolina said Tardy joined an anti-law enforcement chat group on Kik and Telegram, posting messages discussing and soliciting violence against an agent and an agent's spouse. So this is a law enforcement agent. He joined a chat group, anti-law enforcement chat group, discussing and soliciting violence against federal agents. Anybody else not saying that this is the right job for him? Maybe law enforcement was not what he thought it is, because something doesn't add up for me. They said he shared photographs of the agent's spouse, the city and the state they live in. Imagine if this is your husband, or your wife, your kids. This is a law enforcement agent that is sharing another law enforcement's agent's spouse's location with people, inciting violence. Okay. It gets better. Tardy is also accused of asking for the conversation to be moved to Telegram platform because he believed it was more secure, and discussed having one of the victims ruined, destroyed, and tortured for days, according to federal officials. Does he still sound like law enforcement agent to you? Because again, to me this sounds like something I'd read on the news. This is somebody, a criminal that's charged with this and that. He's a correctional officer. I want to keep repeating this because it does not compute in my brain. This is a correctional officer that wanted the victims, in other words, other law enforcement agent and their spouse, tortured for days. Yeah, I don't know. The FBI executed a federal search warrant at Tardy's apartment on February 16th, and he denied using Telegram. He denied responsibility for the messages, gave false statements to investigators, and caused the phone he used to be reset, clearing its content, and exchanged with Apple for a new phone, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Of course they deny. I mean, these guys are very good at denying, because when prisoners say that officer was breaking the law, that officer was targeting inmates, that officer is beating inmates, they deny and they get away with it. And he would have gotten away with it. But of course, because this was against another officer, a federal officer, nobody was going to just let it go. If this was against an inmate, it would have been let go. Guaranteed. But here, the investigators recovered the map of the victim's home with the pin drop on the account that was associated with Tardy. He pleaded guilty to cyberstalking, providing false statements to the FBI, and obstruction of justice. And this is according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. So it's not as simple as a state charge. This is federal charges. Now, I would love to know what this guy is facing. I really would. But I wanted to do this segment and a couple of others that we've done so far, the flip side, to show you that correctional officers are not above the law. They do a lot of stuff that they get away with because they hide it themselves. They hide it on behalf of others. They help each other cover things up. There's so much corruption that goes on behind those walls. So much. And everybody knows it, but we tolerate it. We allow it to happen. Not only that, we pay for it to happen, because this man is now several months into this on administrative leave with pay. He's committed a crime. We're paying for him to commit this crime. We're paying for him to be on leave. Why? I don't know about you, but I think I work hard. I don't want to pay for this. I want my money back. So this man was hired by the Connecticut Department of Corrections. I know every state has their bad apples. So where's the higher ups? Where's the administration? Where's Connecticut Department of Corrections Commissioner Quiros on this? Because he didn't comment on this. He hired this man 5 years ago. He put him to work in Hartford Correctional Center. He knows that this man has done A, B, and C. He knows this because the man already pleaded guilty. But he is following the rules that say we pay this man. We pay him to be committing crimes. And the reason I say he knows this is because, well, it's right there on the news. It's right there in articles and papers, whichever. It's online. Anybody can look it up. So we can't say the Commissioner Quiros doesn't know. But the union says there's a shortage of staff. Well, of course there's a shortage of staff. Your staff are committing crimes out there. And they're paid to stay home with your money. I don't know if you're okay with it, but I'm not. When are we going to stand up against that? When are we going to say that the Department of Corrections and the unions need to stop doing this? They need to stop hiring criminals. Or at least when they find out they have a criminal. Because believe me, they know. They knew this. Inmates are putting complaints all the time that get dismissed, buried, covered up. So they know. But even if they want to pretend that they don't know, when this becomes news, when this man pleads guilty and admits in public that yes, he has done it, why are they paying him? Put him behind bars. Stop paying him. Stop taking my money. Stop taking your money. Because right now, your money is going in his pocket. And again, you're okay with it unless you say something, you do something. And until people stand up against it and said no more, your money is going towards these people. I think this guy should be behind bars. The U.S. Attorney's Office wants this guy behind bars. We shouldn't be paying for him to commit crimes. Anyway, thank you for joining me on today's video. I hope that you get to see the other side of corrections. That the criminals are not just the people locked inside the cells. They're also the people that walk those tiers. And they're being paid for it. And it needs to stop. And your taxpayers paying dollars are paying them, and that needs to stop. And it only stop if you want it to. So please speak out against that. I hope you guys join me on the next video, because there's a lot more of these people out there and we need to shine a light on it. Have a good one.